They said I died 7 years ago. Sometimes, I almost believe it myself. When I left Alaris, I was nothing more than a shadow clinging to a family that never wanted me. The Lin family, proud, powerful, perfect. Except for me. The weak daughter who fell sick too easily, spoke too softly, and embarrassed them with every breath I took. I remember the night it happened, the night I died. The thunderstorm, the argument, my mother's cold voice echoing in the hall. Aria, if you truly loved this family, you'd stop ruining it. Then came the crash. The car spinning, the glass shattering, the world tilting until everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't Aria Lin, daughter of the Lin family. I was no one. A name erased from every record, a girl declared dead to the public. And maybe that was for the best. But life is strange. It gives you new breath just when you think you've lost it forever. I was taken in by a woman named Mrs. Wu, an old businesswoman who saw something in me I never knew existed. She didn't see a burden. She saw potential. She gave me a new name, a new chance, and a new purpose. Now, 7 years later, I've come back. Not as a ghost, but as Aria Wu, CEO of the Wu Corporation. The empire that rose quietly beneath the Lin family's shadow. When my car stopped in front of the Lin mansion gates this morning, I felt the same chill run through me as that night. The black iron gate still gleamed with arrogance, and the same golden crest of the Lin family stared down at me like an unblinking eye. The guards didn't recognize me, of course. They bowed respectfully when they saw my car, the symbol of power that once belonged to my father's enemies. I smiled faintly. How ironic. Inside, the house smelled the same. Jasmine tea and old money. The marble floors reflected my heels with every step, sharp, cold echoes down the corridor. The servants stared, whispering, "Is that Miss Lin?" "No, she's dead." "Then why does she look exactly like her?" And then I saw them. My family. Father, older but still proud, with silver at his temples. Mother, graceful and distant, as if emotions were something she sold long ago. My older brother, Adrian, who once held my hand before he learned it was shameful to do so. They froze when they saw me. My father's teacup slipped from his hand and shattered against the floor. "Who are you?" he demanded, though his voice shook. "What trick is this?" I met his eyes, and for the first time in years, I didn't look away. "It's not a trick, Father," I said softly. "It's a return." Mother's face drained of color. Adrian took a step forward, his lips trembling. You died." "I did," I whispered. "For you. But I got better." Silence swallowed the room. The only sound was the ticking of the old clock on the wall, the same one that marked every minute of my old life. Finally, I smiled. Not with warmth, but with something sharper. "I came back to return what was yours. And to take what was mine." Their eyes widened. Confusion, guilt, fear. It didn't matter. I wasn't the forgotten daughter anymore. I was the ghost they buried alive. And ghosts always come home. Dinner at the Lin mansion used to be my favorite time of day. When I was young, I believed sitting at that long mahogany table meant I belonged. That if I smiled enough, spoke softly enough, and kept my hands folded neatly on my lap, they might one day look at me and see family. Tonight, the same table feels like a stage, and I'm no longer the silent girl in the corner. I'm the guest of honor they wish hadn't come back. The butler pulls out a chair for me. "Miss Aria," he says, hesitating before the name, as if afraid it might summon something unnatural. I sit without a word. Across from me, my father clears his throat. He hasn't stopped staring since I entered the room. "I'll ask again," he says finally, voice heavy. "Who helped you? The Wu Corporation is no small enterprise. You expect us to believe you built it from nothing?" A soft laugh escapes me. "You taught me, didn't you? That survival requires more than bloodlines." My fork clinks lightly against the plate. "I learned quickly." My mother's eyes narrow. "You shouldn't speak to your father like that." "Mother," I say, gently setting down my fork, "I'm not your daughter anymore. You buried her." The words hang in the air. Even the maids freeze. Adrian, sitting at the far end, glances at me with something unreadable in his eyes. Guilt, maybe. Or pity. I don't want either. Father leans back, expression unreadable. You came back for revenge then? I came back for closure, I reply, though even I can taste the lie. What happens after that? Depends on you. For a moment, no one speaks. The chandelier hums softly above us, light trembling across silver cutlery. It feels like sitting inside a memory I can't escape. Then Adrian speaks, his voice lower, careful. Aria, we thought you were dead. I searched for you for months. But there was nothing left after the accident. Your body. I know, I interrupt. They said it burned beyond recognition. Convenient, wasn't it? He flinches. My mother's lips press together. I didn't plan to return, I continue, tracing the rim of my glass. But I read an article last month. Lin Corporation on the verge of bankruptcy. The mighty Lin family falling apart. Father's jaw tightens. You're enjoying this. I meet his eyes and smile sadly. No. I wish I could. The truth is, I don't. Every word tastes like ash. I wanted to come back with anger, to burn them with every sentence. But now that I'm here, watching the cracks in their armor, all I feel is tired. Adrian suddenly stands. You think this is easy for us? You think I didn't blame myself? You were my sister. Were, I say quietly. Past tense. The sound of my own voice hurts more than his shouting. For a moment, his expression softens. He opens his mouth, but father stops him with a glare. Enough. Adrian. This woman came to humiliate us. This woman, I echo softly. If that's what I am to you now, then so be it. I rise, pushing my chair back. I only wanted to see the faces that let me die. I've seen enough. I start to walk away, but my mother's voice stops me. Aria, wait. Her tone cracks for the first time. If you hated us that much, why come back at all? I pause at the door. The chandelier light glints against the tears I didn't realize had gathered in my eyes. Because, I whisper, part of me still wanted to be wrong about you. Then I leave, my heels echoing down the same hallway where, years ago, I'd run crying into the dark. Outside, the night air feels colder than I remember. And for the first time since I returned to Alaris, I wonder if revenge is enough to fill the emptiness they left behind. I didn't sleep that night. The city lights of Alaris stretched endlessly beyond the window, painting the skyline in silver and blue. Below, the hum of traffic felt like a heartbeat. Steady, distant, alive. It reminded me I was still here, no matter how much the past tried to erase me. I poured myself a glass of water, but it sat untouched. My reflection in the window looked like a stranger. Sharp eyes, smooth hair, flawless poise. Everything the old Aria Lin could never be. Yet beneath that mask, I was still the same girl who once waited for her father to smile at her, who wanted her mother to ask if she'd eaten, who thought love could fix anything. A soft knock broke through my thoughts. Come in, I said. It was Adrian. He stood in the doorway, hesitating like he used to when we were children sneaking cookies from the kitchen. He still wore the same expression. Guilt hiding behind confidence. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I gestured to the chair opposite me. He sat, elbows on his knees, eyes searching mine. I don't expect you to forgive us, he began. But there are things you should know. About that night. My chest tightened. Go on. He swallowed. After your accident, Father told everyone to stop the search. He said it was hopeless. But that wasn't true. He got a report. A private investigator found a witness who saw your car pushed off the road. My heart froze. Pushed. He nodded. It wasn't an accident, Aria. Someone tampered with your brakes. Father covered it up. Said it would ruin the family's reputation if it got out. The room tilted. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. He knew. My voice came out hoarse. Adrian's eyes flicked down. He did. And there's more. The day after your funeral, the family lawyer came with a copy of grandfather's will. You were supposed to inherit 10% of Lin Corporation shares when you turned 21. My pulse hammered. But I never reached 21. He nodded. Exactly. Father claimed the shares were forfeited after your death. But I saw the clause. If you were missing, the inheritance would stay frozen until a body was identified. It was never confirmed. I stood up, pacing across the room. My reflection in the glass trembled. So he declared me dead without proof. He wanted those shares. Adrian didn't deny it. His silence said enough. A bitter laugh escaped me. He killed me once for power, and now I've come back for what's mine. Aria. Don't, I said sharply. Don't pretend you didn't know. He looked up, pain flickering in his eyes. I didn't. I was in the military when it happened. By the time I came back, you were gone. I wanted to believe it was just an accident, but... He exhaled shakily. You have to believe me. I wanted to find you. I turned away, hugging myself. For years I'd imagined this conversation. Imagined screaming, crying, demanding answers. But now, all I felt was cold. You should go, I whispered. Before father finds out you told me. He stood, lingering by the door. Aria, whatever you plan to do next, be careful. Father isn't the same man anymore. I gave a hollow smile. Neither am I. After he left, I stood alone in the silence, my thoughts spiraling. Someone had wanted me dead. Father had covered it. And now, my family's empire was rotting from the inside. Poetic justice, maybe, but not enough. I looked out at the glittering skyline again. Somewhere beyond those towers was the lawyer Adrian mentioned, and the truth that had been buried with me. My phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number. We should talk. It's about the accident. My fingers tightened around the phone. The ghosts of my past were finally starting to speak. And this time I would listen. The message came at midnight. We should talk. It's about the accident. No name. No number I recognized. Just that one line, cold, direct, certain. For a long time, I stared at the screen. There were only two types of people who knew about my death. Those who caused it and those who buried it. I typed back. Who are you? The reply came instantly. Someone who owes you the truth. Meet me at Pier 9, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pier 9. The place where Alaris ends, a stretch of quiet docks on the edge of the sea, where fog and salt blur everything. It used to be my favorite spot as a teenager. Nobody else ever went there. Now it felt like a summons from the past. The next evening, I arrived early. The air smelled of rain and seaweed. The waves lapped softly against the wooden posts, and the lamplight shimmered like fractured glass across the water. I waited, coat wrapped tightly around me. Every sound, footsteps, creaking wood, the faint whistle of wind, made my pulse quicken. Then I saw him. A man in a dark coat, face half hidden by the shadows. He stopped a few feet away, hands in his pockets. Aria Lin, he said quietly. Or should I call you Miss Wu? My breath caught. Who are you? He gave a small, humorless smile. You don't remember me. That's expected. I used to work for your father, Lin Corporation's security division. The flicker of recognition hit me. Marcus Chen, I said slowly. You handled the investigation. He nodded. Yes. The one I wasn't supposed to finish. Cold air brushed my face. So it's true. My brakes were tampered with. Yes. His voice lowered. I found the mechanic who did it. 2 days later, he disappeared. The report was buried, and I was paid to resign quietly. I clenched my fists. Who gave the order? He hesitated, gaze flickering toward the dark water. That's the part one can't prove. But the money trail led to a private account under your father's name, and one more signature. Whose? Your mother's. The word sliced through me like glass. My mother. The woman who never raised her voice, who smiled only for the cameras, who told me once that love was a weakness the rich couldn't afford. I shook my head slowly. No. She wouldn't. Wouldn't what? He said softly. Protect her reputation? Her husband's empire. The silence that followed was unbearable. Marcus pulled something from his pocket. A small silver flash drive. All I could save were fragments. Payment records, deleted emails. If you want answers, this is your start. I took it with trembling fingers. Why are you giving this to me now? He looked at me with tired eyes. Because I'm dying, Miss Lin. Cancer. Stage 4. I've spent years trying to forget what I helped cover up. But when I saw your face on the news, the prodigy CEO who rose from nowhere, I realized you survived. I figured you deserved to know who tried to take that from you. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sea roared softly, indifferent to our secrets. Finally I said, "Thank you." He smiled faintly. "Don't thank me. Just finish what I couldn't." And then he turned and walked away, fading into the fog until he became nothing more than another ghost of Alaris. I stood there long after he left, the flash drive burning cold in my hand. Mother. The thought twisted something deep inside me. Of all people, why her? Why not just father? He was ruthless, practical, but she. Then again, she had been the one who told me that night, if you truly loved this family, you'd stop ruining it. Maybe this was what she meant. I closed my eyes, the sound of the waves filling the hollow space in my chest. The truth I'd been chasing had finally appeared, but it wasn't the kind that set you free. It was the kind that broke you quietly, from the inside out. And for the first time since my return, I wondered if vengeance was truly what I wanted, or if I was just searching for a reason to exist again. The silver flash drive sat on my desk all night. I didn't open it right away. I just watched it glint under the lamp, small and harmless, a piece of metal holding the power to rewrite everything I believed about my family. When morning came, the city outside my window had turned gray. A fine mist hung over Alaris, softening the skyline, as if the world itself didn't want to look too closely at what was coming next. I finally plugged the drive into my laptop. Files filled the screen, transaction logs, encrypted messages, a folder marked confidential. My pulse quickened as I opened it. There it was, an email chain between my father, a board lawyer, and my mother. The last message was dated 2 days before the accident. If the girl insists on leaving for London, do what must be done. We can't risk her talking to grandfather's trustees before the inheritance transfer. E.L. Evelyn Lin. My mother. The rest blurred as tears burned my eyes. I pressed a hand to my mouth, trying to breathe. The words were short, polite, businesslike, the way she spoke when she wanted to erase feeling from a conversation. She hadn't wanted me gone because I was weak. She'd wanted me gone because I had become an inconvenience. I shut the laptop. The quiet in my office was suffocating. By noon, I was standing at the entrance of the Lin mansion again. The guards didn't stop me this time. News travels fast when the CEO of your family's rival arrives unannounced. Inside, Mother sat in the sunroom, sipping tea from a delicate porcelain cup. She looked exactly as I remembered. Flawless posture, calm eyes, a small smile that never quite reached them. When she saw me, her hand stilled for just a heartbeat before she set the cup down. "Aria," she said evenly. "To what do we owe this surprise?" I took a breath. "I need to talk to you. Alone." She dismissed the servants with a wave. The door closed softly behind them. "What is it you wish to discuss?" I placed the flash drive on the table between us. "You tell me." Her gaze flickered to it, then back to me. "Ah. So you've been digging." "Not digging," I said quietly. "Finding. There's a difference." For a long time she said nothing, her fingers tracing the rim of her teacup. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. Too calm. "I did what I had to do." I stared at her. "You had to kill me?" Her eyes met mine. There was no malice there. Only exhaustion. "You don't understand. Your father was losing everything. The company was under investigation, the shareholders restless. Your grandfather's will would have exposed us before we could recover. So you decided to erase me?" She looked away. "You were planning to leave. You told me about London, about freedom. Your absence gave the family time to survive." "Absence?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean death." Her voice wavered for the first time. "I never wanted you hurt. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. They said it would look like an accident, nothing more." The world tilted. "You're saying you meant to fake my death?" She nodded slowly. "You were supposed to disappear, live quietly abroad. But something went wrong. The car. No one told me until it was over." The air between us thickened. I couldn't tell if she was lying or confessing. "Why didn't you tell the truth later?" I whispered. She smiled, a small tragic curve of her lips that shattered whatever hatred I had left. "Because by then, the lie had saved everyone. and the truth would have destroyed what little remained. I stood there, trembling. All the anger I'd carried felt heavy, useless. "You could have come for me," I said softly. "You could have found me." Her eyes glistened. "And what would I have said? That I killed my daughter to save her father's pride." For the first time, she looked human. Fragile, afraid. I turned away before she could see my tears. "You didn't just kill your daughter," I said. "You killed the only person who ever wanted your love." I left before she could answer. Outside, the rain had started again, light and steady. As I walked toward my car, I caught my reflection in a puddle. Not the ghost of Aria Lin, not the mask of Aria Wu, but something in between. Maybe forgiveness wasn't weakness after all. Maybe it was the final act of revenge. To live, to keep breathing, when the people who broke you expected you to disappear. 2 days passed after I left the mansion. I didn't return any calls. Didn't open any emails. I spent most of that time in my apartment overlooking the river, watching the rain smear the city lights into ribbons of silver. Sometimes I think Alaris was built for people like us. Cold, glittering, full of secrets no one wants to name. I had just started to believe the storm inside me might quiet when I heard the knock. 3 times. Firm. Familiar. "Come in," I said. Adrian stepped through the door, soaked from the rain. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, hair damp, expression unreadable. "You've seen Mother," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." He nodded slowly. "She hasn't stopped crying." "Crying doesn't erase what she did," I said quietly. "I know." He took a hesitant step closer. "But you needed to hear it from her. Now you know everything." "Not everything," I murmured. "There's still Father." He tensed. "Aria." "No," I interrupted. He covered it. "Paid off witnesses. Declared me dead without proof. Even if Mother planned it." He finished it. Adrian didn't deny it. He just sank into the chair opposite me, rubbing his temples. "I don't expect you to understand what it was like," he said after a moment. "After you were gone, everything fell apart. Father lost the board's trust. Mother stopped speaking to anyone. I spent years trying to hold it together." "And you think that excuses them?" "No," he said quietly. "But it's why I stayed." The silence between us was heavy, but not hostile. For the first time in years, I saw not my brother, the heir, the perfect son, but a man who'd been living in a prison of loyalty and guilt. "Father's planning something," he said suddenly. "He's calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow. Rumor is, he wants to merge Lin Corporation with another group, the only way to save it from bankruptcy." I frowned. "Which group?" Adrian met my eyes. "Wu Corporation." The words hit like a stone dropped in still water. Ripples of disbelief, anger, then an almost cruel amusement. "Of course he does," I whispered. "He destroyed one daughter to save his empire. Now he wants the other one to rebuild it." "He doesn't know that you know everything," Adrian said. "To him, you're just a rival with an interest in business." I let out a shaky laugh. "Business? Yes. That's what this has always been for him." Adrian leaned forward. "Aria, I need to know what you're planning. If you go to that meeting." "I will," I said. "Then tell me what you'll do." I looked out the window at the rain. "That depends on you." He blinked. "Me? You're the only person in that family I still believe can choose right over power." He hesitated. "And if I choose wrong?" I met his gaze. "Then the Lin family ends tomorrow." He flinched but didn't look away. "You've changed, Aria." "I had to." I smiled faintly. "I died once trying to be the good daughter." He was quiet for a long time. Then he stood, straightening his coat. "Tomorrow," he said. "I'll be there. But don't expect loyalty from anyone else." I never did. When he left, the room felt emptier than before. I turned off the lights and sat in the dark, listening to the rain tap against the glass. My reflection stared back at me. Sharp eyes, calm face, no trace of the frightened girl who used to beg for love. Tomorrow would decide everything. The truth, the company, the legacy of the Lin name. But somewhere beneath all the steel I'd built around myself, a small voice whispered what I refused to admit aloud. I didn't want to destroy Adrian. I wanted to save him, even if it meant burning everything else to ash. The Lin Corporation headquarters still smelled the same, like polished marble and ambition. I hadn't walked through those doors since before my death, and for a moment, I felt a strange pull in my chest. The walls remembered me, even if the people didn't. "Miss Wu, the board is waiting," said the assistant, voice trembling as she led me down the hall. Of course they were waiting. Wolves always wait when they smell blood. The elevator chimed softly. When the doors opened, I stepped into the top-floor conference room, all glass and steel, overlooking Alaris from above, as if the city itself bowed to the Lin name. Father sat at the head of the long table. Mother was beside him, pale but composed, her smile thin as paper. Adrian sat a few seats away, shoulders tense. The rest of the board, investors, directors, old family allies, turned to look at me like I was a ghost wearing heels. "Miss Wu," Father said smoothly, as if greeting any other business rival. "Thank you for accepting our invitation." I smiled faintly. When the Lin family calls, who could refuse? A few nervous laughs rippled through the room. Father gestured to the seat across from him. "Please. Let's discuss the merger." I sat, crossing my legs, hands folded neatly in my lap. "Of course. But before we begin, I'd like clarity on one thing." "Why me?" He leaned back, fingers steepled. "Wu Corporation has the liquidity Lin Corporation needs. And your leadership has proven effective. It's a logical alliance." "Logic," I echoed. "That's what you used 7 years ago too, wasn't it?" "Logic and sacrifice." The air in the room froze. Adrian's head jerked up. Mother's hand trembled slightly against her teacup. Father's expression didn't falter, but his voice hardened. "I'm not sure I follow." "You will." I reached into my bag and placed the silver flash drive on the table. The same one Marcus had given me. The same one that carried their sins. "I found something," I said quietly. "Emails, payments, deleted files. All tied to the night I died." Several board members exchanged glances. One of them, a gray-haired director named Mr. Han, cleared his throat. "Miss Wu, this is highly irregular." "Not for a company built on irregularities," I interrupted softly. Father's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake, Miss Wu." I leaned forward, eyes locked on his. "Am I? Or did you make one 7 years ago when you decided a daughter's silence was worth more than her life?" For the first time, something cracked behind his mask. The silence that followed was unbearable. Heavy, suffocating, absolute. Mother spoke first, her voice shaking. "Aria, please. Don't," I said sharply. "You've both said enough." Father's voice dropped, low and dangerous. "You think you can destroy me with that flash drive?" "I've faced worse threats than a bitter child." I smiled coldly. "You're right. I can't destroy you with data alone. But I can ruin your name. Your reputation. Everything you built on lies." Adrian stood suddenly. "Stop it, both of you." His voice echoed across the room. "This isn't justice. It's madness. You're tearing down what's left of our family." I turned to him, my anger fading into something softer. "Family," I whispered. "We stopped being a family the moment they chose the company over me." He looked at me helplessly, torn between blood and truth. Father slammed his hand against the table. "Enough. You are no daughter of mine." The words sliced through me, but I didn't flinch. I had waited 7 years to hear them said aloud. "I know," I said quietly. "You buried her." I rose slowly from my chair. "I came here to give you a choice, not to beg for forgiveness. Sign the merger under Wu Corporation's terms. Step down quietly. Or I release everything." The board members whispered furiously among themselves. Power shifts quickly in this world, and they could smell the fall coming. Father's face turned pale. For the first time, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. He opened his mouth but no words came. I turned toward the door, pausing only once. "You always told me Lin blood meant strength," I said softly. "Maybe you were right. It's the only reason I survived you." Then I walked out. Adrian followed me to the elevator, eyes full of conflict. "Aria," he said quietly, "what happens now?" I looked at him, the brother who once held my hand when no one else did. Now, I said, we find out what's left to save. As the elevator doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of the boardroom. My father slumped in his chair, my mother staring after me with tears she'd never allow to fall. And just like that, the dynasty that buried me began to crumble. The news spread through Alaris before the sun even rose. Scandal in the Lin Empire. CEO under investigation for corporate fraud. Anonymous leaks reveal cover-up linked to former heiress's death. By morning, the Lin name, once carved in gold, was everywhere in black headlines. I sat in my office at Wu Corporation, a cup of coffee cooling untouched beside me, watching the chaos unfold on the screen. Reporters swarmed the Lin headquarters, shareholders demanded answers, and Father had vanished from public sight. So this was what victory looked like. Not loud, not triumphant, just quiet and strangely hollow. My phone buzzed. Adrian. I almost didn't answer. But then I remembered the look in his eyes yesterday, that fragile mix of sorrow and hope, and I couldn't let silence be our last conversation. Aria. His voice was rough, as if he hadn't slept. I saw the news, I said softly. It's worse than you think. The investigators found offshore accounts, false reports, everything. Father's name is everywhere. I closed my eyes. And Mother? She's gone. Left the mansion early this morning. I don't know where. The words landed like a stone in my chest. I pictured her standing by the window, still as a statue, before walking away from the ruins she'd built. Adrian, I murmured, I didn't want this for you. He let out a shaky laugh. Didn't you? This is what you came back for, isn't it? I didn't answer. He sighed. The board voted an hour ago. I'm stepping in as acting chairman. They begged me to stabilize what's left. Will you? I asked. I'll try. But I can't do it if you keep pressing the story. If you still have anything left to leak, please, don't. Let me rebuild something from the wreck. There it was, the choice I'd known would come. To burn the last pieces of the Lin name, or to let him save what remained. I stared at the skyline, the morning light cutting through the mist, glinting against the towers that once belonged to my family. I'll stop, I said quietly. He exhaled, relief flooding his voice. Thank you. But you have to promise me something, I continued. No more lies. No more pretending the Lin family is untouchable. If you want to rebuild, do it clean. Do it right. I promise. We didn't say goodbye. The call ended with silence, the kind that means both ending and beginning. Later that day, I drove to the outskirts of the city. The mansion gates were wide open, the once proud crest of the Lin family cracked in half. Inside, the halls were empty. Dust floated in the sunlight, catching on the frames of portraits that suddenly looked like ghosts. I stopped at the end of the corridor, the same place where my mother had once told me I was ruining the family. There, on the table, lay a single envelope. My name on the front. Her handwriting, elegant, steady, controlled. I opened it with trembling hands. My Aria, you were never weak. I was. I chose silence when I should have chosen truth. I thought love meant protection, even if it meant lying to you. I was wrong. If there is anything left of us, let it be peace. Do not let our sins chain you longer than they already have. Love. Always. Mother. I pressed the letter to my chest, tears slipping silently down my cheeks. 4 years, I dreamed of vengeance, of standing above them and watching them fall. But now that the fall had come, all I could feel was grief, for the family that might have been, for the love that arrived too late. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees, carrying away the last echoes of the Lin dynasty. I stood there for a long time, then whispered to the empty air, "Goodbye." When I walked away from that house, I didn't look back. Because the girl who had once belonged there, the forgotten daughter, finally didn't need to return anymore. It's been 3 months since the fall of the Lin family. Alaris has already moved on. The world always does. Headlines fade, scandals are replaced, and new empires rise over the ruins of the old. Lin Corporation still exists, but it no longer belongs to the dynasty that built it. Adrian has turned it into something smaller, humbler, and cleaner. As for me, I've been quiet. The city that once felt like a battlefield now feels like a mirror, showing me everything I lost, and everything I still might become. Every morning, I take my coffee to the balcony of my apartment and watch the sunrise over the river. I used to think dawn was a promise. Now I know it's a choice. You can meet it, or turn away and stay in the dark. I'm learning to meet it. Today, a letter arrived. Not by email, not through assistants, but by hand. The envelope was cream-colored, the handwriting unfamiliar. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded carefully. Miss Wu, I imagine you expected silence from me. But I owe you the truth before I disappear entirely. Your mother passed away last week in a seaside hospital. She left no possessions, only the letter you found and a single request, that it be delivered to you. She asked for no funeral. She said her daughter had already given her the only absolution she deserved. Respectfully, Dr. H. Sung. I read it twice before I could breathe. So this was it. The last thread tying me to the past. Quietly, inevitably, gone. I didn't cry. Not like I thought I would. Instead, I felt something loosen inside me, like a knot finally giving way. She had died alone, but not unrepentant. And somehow that mattered. That evening, I drove to the sea. The same pier where Marcus had met me months ago. The wind was sharp, the waves restless, the horizon endless. I stood there, coat fluttering in the breeze, and took out a small notebook I'd kept since I left the Lin mansion. It was filled with fragments, thoughts I hadn't said, letters I'd never send, apologies that would never reach anyone. On the last page I wrote, I came back to avenge the girl they buried. But I leave as the woman she became. I tore the page out and let it slip from my fingers. The wind caught it, carrying it far across the water until it vanished into the fading light. For the first time in years, I felt light too. Not happy. Happiness was too fragile a word, but free. When I returned to Alaris, Adrian was waiting outside my office. He looked older, calmer, and for once, unafraid to meet my eyes. Mother's gone, he said softly. I know. He nodded, as if he'd expected that. Father's under house arrest. The board wants to liquidate half the assets. I'm tired, Aria. You can stop now, I said gently. You don't have to fix what they broke. He gave a small, sad smile. Someone has to. Otherwise all of this was for nothing. I studied him for a moment, then reached into my bag and handed him a small folder, the remaining documents from the flash drive. Then take these. Bury the rest of it. End it cleanly. He looked surprised. You're sure? Yes. I smiled faintly. I've already buried enough ghosts. He nodded slowly, then pulled me into an awkward, hesitant hug, the kind that belonged to two people still learning how to be siblings again. Thank you, he whispered. When he left, I looked around my office, the space I'd built from nothing. Every book, every file, every line of glass and steel was something I had chosen. For the first time it truly felt like mine. That night, before I turned off the lights, I stood by the window and whispered to the city below. I died once for them. I lived once for revenge. Now I'll live for myself. The lights of Alaris shimmered like 1,000 tiny stars, and in their reflection, I saw not the forgotten daughter, nor the avenger, just Aria. No longer lost. No longer forgotten. Just finally free. It's been 5 years since I walked away from the Lin mansion for the last time. Alaris has changed again. Taller buildings, faster cars, brighter screens. The city never stops chasing the next thing, but for the first time, I no longer have to chase it. I live outside the center now, in a quiet district by the river. Mornings start with the smell of coffee and the sound of rain against the window. Some days I still wake before dawn, expecting the old dread to return, that heavy, breathless fear that everything I built would vanish again. But it doesn't. It never does. People call me Chairwoman Wu now. Wu Corporation has become something different under my hand. Smaller, steadier, less about winning and more about meaning. We fund education programs, rebuild small companies swallowed by greed. I think Mrs. Wu, the woman who once saved me, would have approved. Sometimes, new employees whisper that I used to be a Lin. They never ask directly, and I never correct them. Let them wonder. The past is a story I no longer need to defend. Adrian and I speak once a month. He married last spring, quietly, without photographers or headlines. His wife runs a foundation for orphan children. They send me photos sometimes. smiling faces in the sunlight, unafraid of tomorrow. He signs his letters, your brother, always. I keep them all. Father remains in seclusion. The courts reduced his sentence after the company collapse. Age has made him gentler, or maybe just tired. I visited once, 2 years ago. He sat in the garden of the care facility, staring at the fish pond. When he saw me, he didn't speak, just nodded slightly, a silent surrender. It was enough. That was the day I realized forgiveness isn't a gift you give the guilty. It's a way to stop carrying them on your back. Mother's ashes rest by the sea. I visit every year on her birthday. I bring jasmine tea, her favorite, and pour some into the waves. The first time, I thought I'd cry. Instead, I smiled. She finally found the silence she had always tried to control. One evening last autumn, the university invited me to give a lecture on rebuilding after failure. I almost refused. But when I stood in front of the students, faces bright with questions, hearts still soft, I found myself telling them what I wish someone had told me years ago. That day you lose everything, I said, will not be the end of you. It will be the day you meet the version of yourself who can start again. When the applause came, I felt something unexpected. Not pride, not triumph, but peace. Tonight, the sky over Alaris glows silver. I walk to the riverbank, where the water reflects the city lights like scattered stars. The wind tastes of salt and rain. Somewhere far beyond the towers lies the old pier, the place where I first learned the truth, and the place where I let it go. I close my eyes and breathe. For years, I thought revenge would give me closure. Instead, time gave me something quieter. Understanding. The past doesn't disappear. It softens, folds into you, becomes part of the person you carry forward. I will always be the daughter who was forgotten, the woman who came back from the dead. But I'm also the one who chose to live again. As I turn to leave, I catch my reflection in the water. Calm, steady, whole. For the first time, I don't see a ghost. I see a begin. Ning. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more original novel stories. And stay tuned, our next story is coming soon.